What is stress, and why should we be so intentional about being sure that we're doing everything we can to reduce and eliminate stressors in our life? Hi, I'm Rita Johnson, owner of Divine Mercy Nutritional Care, and I help women to take their health back into their own hands. Stress has been linked to so many debilitating diseases that we see in our modern day American lives. So first, let's start off with what is stress? We hear it thrown around a lot, but I just want to start by explaining a few basic principles. So we have two types of stress. We have good stress, also called eustress, and we have bad stress, oftentimes called distress. So let's start with good stress because it's really quick and easy to explain. Good stress is anytime we do something that's helping ourselves or our bodies to learn, grow, and adapt. So whether that's exercising, pushing ourselves by going for a run or lifting some weights, or whether that's doing something mentally that's really challenging for us. This might be like preparing for a big test and really digging into ourselves to do better and work harder than we have done in the past. So that's our good stress. Everyone needs some amount of stress in their lives because without this type of good stress, we're not learning and growing. We can just be stagnant and be more content with that. Whereas if we have a challenge, something that causes us to rise to an occasion, then we're able to dig deep and grow as individuals. Now let's contrast that with bad stress. So bad stress is a little trickier to define because it can be something that is definitely always harmful. Things like eating foods that your body can't recognize as food. And this can include hidden food sensitivities. Other things that can be indicative of bad stress are when our hormones are out of balance. Oftentimes we hear spoken about a lot with type 2 diabetes and insulin resistance. That is basically an imbalance with our insulin and this other hormone called glucagon. Some other forms of negative stress are a lack of sleep, poor hydration, poor nutrient-dense foods, and any other types of forms of inflammation. But where this gets tricky is going back to our example of good stress. When we talked about studying for a test that causes us to dig deep and really work hard to be able to grow our brain capacity to hold all this information, well, that can obviously also become a form of distress, right? If we become anxious and overwhelmed with that as well. So a lot of times when we talk about distress, we also are thinking about these negative emotions or things that are just really heavy on our body. And this is where it gets tricky because we can't always tell that something is heavy, a burden that we're carrying is heavy. And that is why stress can be such a tricky topic. So another important concept when we're talking about stress is our allostatic load. So your allostatic load is basically your body's ability to keep amassing new stressors on. This is very different from one person to the next and even at different seasons of our life. I want you to think of it as a bucket where there's holes in the bucket. And if that bucket starts to overflow with water, we have reached that level of our allostatic load and our body oftentimes begins to shut down in one way or another. We may have a nervous breakdown, we may have some health issues crop up, or there may be other things that happen as a result. So what we want to do with that bucket is poke holes in it. And those holes are really the stress management techniques that we can incorporate into our lives to be sure that we're reducing and minimizing stress. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe.